You want to know why you're broke? I'll tell you exactly why. It's not your salary, it's not the economy, it's not bad luck. It's the three things you keep buying that are destroying your financial future. And I'm going to break them down for you right now. I'm going to show you exactly how these purchases are stealing your wealth. And I'm going to give you the exact alternative strategy that actually builds money instead of burning it. Before we start, if you're serious about stopping the financial bleeding, if you're ready to make different decisions and get different results, subscribe to this channel right now. We're building a community of people who understand that every dollar you spend is a dollar that either works for you or against you. There's no middle ground. Hit that button. Let's go. Here's what you need to understand. Rich people and broke people spend money differently, fundamentally differently. Broke people buy things that lose value. Rich people buy things that gain value. Broke people spend on consumption. Rich people spend on assets. And the three things I'm about to tell you to stop buying, these are consumption at its worst. These are wealth destroyers. And you're probably guilty of at least one of them. Thing number one, you need to stop buying immediately. Luxury cars. And I don't just mean Ferraris and Lamborghinis. I'm talking about any car that costs more than you actually need to spend on reliable transportation. I'm talking about the BMW when a Honda would do the job. The Mercedes when a Toyota works just fine. The loaded F-150 with every option when a basic truck is all you need. Every dollar you spend above necessity on a vehicle is a dollar you're lighting on fire. Let me break down the math because math doesn't lie. You buy a $60,000 luxury SUV. Feels great, right? You look successful. You feel successful. But here's what actually happened. The moment you drove it off the lot, it lost $12,000 in value. 20% depreciation, gone in one day. Then over the next 3 years, it loses another $20,000. So your $60,000 vehicle is now worth $28,000. You lost $32,000 in 3 years. That's not transportation. That's financial suicide. But it's worse than that because most people don't pay cash, they finance. So now you're paying interest on a depreciating asset. You're paying 6% or 7% interest on something that's losing 15% of its value per year. You're losing on both ends. The asset's going down. The debt's costing you money. It's a double kill on your wealth. And you did it to yourself because you wanted to look successful instead of being successful. Now let me show you what you should do instead. Buy a 3-year-old certified pre-owned vehicle. Let somebody else eat that massive depreciation hit. A 3-year-old Honda Accord or Toyota Camry, about $20,000. Reliable, safe, gets you from point A to point B. But here's the key. Take that $40,000 difference, the money you didn't spend on the luxury vehicle, and invest it. Put it in dividend-paying stocks. 4% dividend yield. That's $1,600 a year in passive income. Every year, forever, just from making one smart decision about your car. And it compounds. That $40,000 invested at 10% average annual return, which is what the stock market does, becomes $104,000 in 10 years. You know what your luxury car is worth in 10 years? Maybe $15,000 if you're lucky. So you can either have a depreciating liability that costs you money, or you can have a growing asset that makes you money. Which one sounds smarter? Which one builds wealth? But people don't think this way. They think about the monthly payment. The dealership says you can afford $800 a month, right? And you say yes because you can technically make the payment. But affordability isn't the question. The question is this the best use of $800 a month? And the answer is absolutely not. That $800 a month invested becomes $1.5 million over 30 years. You're trading $1.5 million in retirement wealth for a car that makes you feel good for 3 years. That's insanity. Here's what kills me. People justify luxury cars by saying they work hard, they deserve it, they want to enjoy their money. I get it. But you're not enjoying your money. You're destroying it. You're choosing temporary pleasure over permanent wealth. You're choosing to look rich instead of being rich. And looking rich is what keeps people broke. Being rich is what creates freedom. You can't have both. Choose. Thing number 2, you need to stop buying. Designer clothes and luxury fashion. I'm talking about the $500 jeans, the $1,000 sneakers, the $3,000 handbags, the designer everything. You're spending thousands of dollars on clothes that do the exact same job as clothes that cost a fraction of the price. You're not buying functionality, you're buying a logo, you're buying status, and status doesn't build wealth, it destroys it. Let me be very clear about something. Nobody cares what you're wearing as much as you think they do. Nobody's keeping track of your outfits. Nobody's impressed by your designer labels. And the people who are impressed, those aren't the people whose opinions should matter to you. Rich people, actually wealthy people, they don't care about your clothes. They care about your net worth. They care about your assets. They care about your cash flow, not your outfit. You know what wealthy people wear? Whatever's comfortable and functional. Steve Jobs wore the same thing every day. Mark Zuckerberg wears t-shirts and hoodies. Warren Buffett buys his suits off the rack. These are billionaires. They don't waste money on fashion because they understand that money spent on clothes is money not invested in assets. They get it. You don't. Here's the real cost. You spend $5,000 a year on designer clothes. That's probably low for people who are really into fashion. But let's use that number, $5,000 a year that you could invest instead. Over 20 years at 10% return, that's $15,000. You're trading $250,000 in wealth for clothes that'll be out of style in 6 months. Clothes that you'll barely wear. Clothes that'll sit in your closet taking up space. That's the trade you're making. And don't tell me you need nice clothes for work. You need professional clothes for work. Professional doesn't mean designer. You can get a quality suit for $300. You can get dress shirts for $40. You can look professional and sharp without spending thousands on labels. The difference is ego. The difference is insecurity. You're using designer clothes to fill a void, to feel valuable, to feel successful. But actual success comes from building wealth, not displaying wealth. What should you do instead? Buy quality basics. Clothes that last, clothes that fit well, clothes that are functional, and spend a fraction of what you're spending now. Then take the difference and invest it. $5,000 a year into dividend stocks. That's $200 a month in passive income after a few years. That's money working for you instead of sitting in your closet. That's wealth building instead of wealth destruction. And here's the thing about clothes. They lose value instantly. The moment you wear them, they're worth half of what you paid. Try to resell your designer clothes. You'll get pennies on the dollar. That $3,000 handbag, you'll be lucky to get $800 for it used. It's a depreciating asset, just like the car. You're buying things that go down in value. Wealthy people buy things that go up in value. That's the fundamental difference. Thing number 3 you need to stop buying: expensive vacations and experiences on credit. This one's tricky because everyone talks about experiences over things. Live your life. Make memories. Travel while you're young. I've heard it all. And you know what? It's garbage advice. Or at least the way most people follow it is garbage. Because they're not paying cash for these experiences. They're putting them on credit cards. They're going into debt to travel. They're borrowing from their future to fund their present. That's backwards. Let me paint a picture. You take a $5,000 vacation, put it on a credit card at 20% interest, come home, back to reality, and now you're paying $150 a month for the next 3 years to pay off that vacation. The vacation's over. The memories fade, but the debt remains. You're paying interest on something you already consumed, something that created zero lasting value. You worked backward. You borrowed from future earnings to fund temporary pleasure. That's not living your best life. That's financial self-sabotage. And it compounds. Most people don't take one expensive vacation and stop. They do it every year, sometimes multiple times a year. Spring break, summer vacation, holiday trip, each one on credit, each one adding to the debt pile. Before you know it, you're carrying $20,000 or $30,000 in credit card debt from experiences you can barely remember. Experiences that created Instagram posts but destroyed your financial future. Here's what you should do. If you can't pay cash for a vacation, you don't take the vacation. Period. It's that simple. You save up. You put money aside every month, and when you have enough cash, then you travel. That's the order. Save first, spend second, not spend first, pay later. Because when you spend first and pay later, you're paying interest. You're making the experience 30% or 40% more expensive than it needed to be. You're volunteering to pay more money for the same experience. That's stupid, but here's what's even better. Don't spend all your vacation money on vacations. Invest some of it. You want to take a $5,000 vacation? Fine. Save $7,500. Take the $5,000 vacation in cash. Invest the other $2,500. That $2,500 at 10% return becomes $6,500 in 10 years. Then $17,000 in 20 years. You enjoyed your vacation and built wealth at the same time. That's balance. That's smart money management. Now I can hear what you're thinking. You're saying, life's short. I want to enjoy my money now. I don't want to wait until I'm 60 to start living. I get it. But you're creating a false choice. The choice isn't between living now or living later. The choice is between living broke forever or living rich eventually and then permanently. You can sacrifice now and build wealth that gives you freedom for the rest of your life. Or you can consume now and stay broke forever. There's no third option. And let's talk about what enjoying life actually means. Does it mean going into debt for temporary experiences? Or does it mean building enough wealth that you have options, that you can travel without stress, that you can take time off without worrying about money, that you can say no to jobs you hate? That's real enjoyment. That's real freedom, not a week in Cancun that you put on a credit card. Wealthy people travel, they take vacations, they have experiences, but they do it with cash. They do it after they've invested. They do it as a reward for building wealth, not as a substitute for building wealth. That's the order: build first, enjoy second. Most people do it backward: enjoy first, never build. Then wonder why they're broke at 50. Here's the strategy. Every time you want to make one of these three purchases, luxury car, designer clothes, expensive vacation on credit, stop. Ask yourself a question: is this building wealth or destroying wealth? Is this an asset or a liability? Will this be worth more or less in the future? If the answer is less, if it's a liability, if it's destroying wealth, don't buy it. Or at least don't buy the expensive version. Buy the functional version and invest the difference. Let me show you what happens when you apply this across all three categories. You buy a practical car instead of a luxury car. Save $40,000, invest it. You buy normal clothes instead of designer clothes. Save $5,000 a year. Invest it. You skip one expensive vacation and take a budget trip instead. Save $3,000, invest it. That's $48,000 in year one, plus $8,000 a year ongoing. At 10% return in 20 years, that's over $900,000. You're almost a millionaire just from making smart decisions in three categories. But most people don't do this. They buy the luxury car, they buy the designer clothes, they take the expensive vacations, and then they wonder why they have no savings, why they're living paycheck to paycheck, why they can't retire. It's because they chose consumption over investment. They chose to look rich instead of being rich. They chose temporary pleasure over permanent wealth. And here's what really gets me. These same people will complain about not having money. They'll say the system's rigged. They'll say they can't get ahead. They'll blame their salary, their boss, the economy, taxes, whatever. But they won't look in the mirror. They won't admit that their spending habits are the problem. They won't take responsibility for the fact that they're buying liabilities instead of assets. They want to be victims instead of victors. And victims stay broke. You want to know the real difference between rich and poor? It's not income. Plenty of high income people are broke. It's spending habits. Rich people spend money on assets, things that generate income, things that appreciate, stocks, real estate, businesses. Poor people spend money on liabilities, things that lose value, things that cost money to maintain. Cars, clothes, experiences on credit. That's the difference. And that difference compounds over time into millions of dollars. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 30 days, track every dollar you spend, every single purchase, and categorize each one. Is this an asset or a liability? Is this building wealth or destroying wealth? Be honest. At the end of 30 days, add up all the money you spent on liabilities, all the wealth destroyers. Then imagine if you had invested that money instead. Calculate what that would be worth in 20 years. That's your wake-up call. That's the cost of your current habits. Then make changes. Cut the luxury spending, cut the designer clothes, cut the expensive vacations on credit. Redirect that money into investments, into dividend stocks, into index funds, into real estate, into things that grow, into things that generate income, into assets. Build a portfolio, build wealth, build freedom. That's how you win, not by looking rich, by being rich. And listen, I'm not saying never enjoy your money. I'm not saying live like a monk. I'm saying be strategic. I'm saying prioritize. I'm saying build first, enjoy second. Build enough wealth that you can afford luxuries with cash, with dividend income, with passive cash flow, not with debt, not with money that should be invested. There's a right way and a wrong way to enjoy life. Most people do it wrong. That's why they stay broke. Now, if this message hit home, if you realize you've been buying liabilities instead of assets, here's what you need to do. First, subscribe to this channel. We're building a community of people who make smart financial decisions, people who prioritize wealth over appearance, people who understand that sacrifice now creates freedom later. Second, drop a comment. Tell me which of these three things you're guilty of buying. Be honest. Write it down. That's the first step to change. Third, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Someone buying luxury cars they can't afford. Someone drowning in designer clothes. Someone putting vacations on credit cards. This channel exists to tell you the truth, not comfortable lies about treating yourself and living your best life. The truth about how money works, how wealth is built, how financial freedom is created, And the truth is, you build wealth by buying assets, not liabilities, by investing, not consuming, by being patient, not impulsive, by thinking long-term, not short-term. That's how you win. Stop buying luxury cars. Stop buying designer clothes. Stop putting expensive vacations on credit. Start investing that money instead. Build a portfolio, generate passive income, create wealth that lasts. That's the strategy. It's not complicated. It's just uncomfortable. And most people choose comfort over wealth. Don't be most people. Choose wealth. Choose freedom. Choose smart money decisions. Now go make it happen.